Hello and welcome to another episode of Happy Healthy Skeptical. We are your hosts, Christy Palermo and Jennifer Hobson. And today we're talking about keeping up with the Joneses. And so listen to this one. We talk about how to protect our own mindset and navigate through the holidays with our spending, with our time, and just trying to be mindful around this season. All right, Jen. So we are in full holiday swing, and it's really at its height right now where we are all spending our money, spending our time in all kinds of places. So I know a lot of us kind of get around the keeping up with the Joneses, which I guess these days we could say keeping up with the Kardashians. And so what are some things that you keep in mind? How do you protect yourself when it comes to spending time, spending money, just trying to always keep up with everybody, keep things level in your life? Like, what are some things that you do to protect yourself?
I think one of the first things we have to say is we need to stop trying to keep up with other people, right? We have to flip that switch. And this has been a lifelong conversation, I'm sure, for most people, right? Everyone has heard keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with, I almost don't want to even say their name just to give them more credit, but keeping up with the Kardashians and really the social media influencers. There's so many, back in the day when you said keeping up with the Joneses, you were talking about your neighbors, right? These were the people that you saw every day, right? You might drive by their house. Maybe they bought 1 million lights, right? I'm thinking of, a National Lampoon's Christmas, and right,
That's what I was thinking too.
they put, a bazillion lights, and you can see their roof from space. And you were so busy trying to get the kids where they needed to be and get dinner on the table and hide their presents or figure out what presents you could buy that you were lucky to put, a few 5 strings of lights outside. So that was your immediate, you could see that every day, right? So that's where, right, keeping up with the Joneses, and that has really blown up for people to really just penetrate their mind so many more ways than it used to, right? We're 80s babies. It wasn't happening like that. You might have went to school and you saw your best friend and she got brand new Nikes, or you saw your friend and they actually got a new car. They didn't get the Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme that you were that you were driving for your first car. So those are the people that you saw. But now, and we're talking for kids, we're talking for teenagers, and we're talking for adults, we're comparing what we have or what we don't have on so many more levels, right? You're talking about your neighbor, you're talking about the PTG, right? The people that you're at parent teacher conference, you're talking to people on social media, because now you see those people in all the things that they do. You're not just seeing them as you drive by their house. So it's really, really hard to protect your mindset and to kind of establish of what do you want to offer your family. I think that's kind of the biggest thing is, rather than keeping up with the Joneses, it's going, well, how do I want to show up as the Hobsons, right? Like, how do I want my family to enjoy? And I'm this is the longest answer to your question, but I have this very specific story that was really impactful for me. I was actually 12. And, we always talk about the things that we choose to do as parents are the stories that shape our kids. And honestly, I don't remember super flashy presents. Like my family wasn't super rich, but they took care of us, right? Like my dad worked really, really hard. My mom worked really hard. So they bought us presents, but I was never getting brand new shoes, this, that, and the third. But I was 12, and I remember I had an aunt come visit from California. And it was a blizzard, so it snowed a ton. It's all very memorable. I don't remember many Christmases, but I remember this one. So, of course, what did I do? I chose the box under the Christmas tree with my name on it. That was the biggest, because that must be the most badass present, right? It's the biggest, right? It's the flashiest. And I opened it and I was so fucking disappointed because I think it was purple thermal pajamas and like bathroom stuff, like razors and deodorant, like the stuff I needed. So that's why my mom was giving it to me as a present. And I was so disappointed. And what I remember to this day is there was a really, really small present from my aunt. And she had to remind me as a 12-year-old that not all amazing things come in big, flashy packages. And when I opened it, it was like the coolest necklace. And I thought it was so cool. And that's what I had to be reminded of. And I think I apply that a lot now to what I'm doing when we're thinking about that keeping up with the Joneses. It doesn't have to be big and flashy for our kids and our family to remember. It just has to be really meaningful. So how
Hmm.
I do that, it's a whole lot of fucking work. You gotta unfollow the people that don't make you feel good. And what I mean by that is even if they're doing great things, it just doesn't make you feel good about where you are right now. It's okay to unfollow them, right? Maybe they have a child with a birthday in the same month as yours, and you thought you did great. You made them a balloon garland and you made them a homemade cake. I'm speaking from personal experience, right? And I invited people and I thought I did the best that I could, but then I saw someone else that has a beautiful house, right? Forgetting that I think my house is beautiful. They have a beautiful house, right? They got their kids all of these really, really expensive things, and they didn't make the balloon garland because they paid someone to make the balloon garland. So you didn't have to spend an hour in their basement blowing up balloons and tying them together, which, by the way, Ick, I hate the way balloons feel, but I would do it for my children. And, you go down this rabbit hole and go, but oh, that was so much better. I wish I could have done that. I wish I could afford that. And the biggest thing that I can tell people, and I don't know if it's a tip or not, but what I'm here to tell you is don't go into debt making memories for your family.
Mm. Oh my gosh, you'd like hitting a chord there. For myself personally, it's something I definitely need to remember. And I think so many of us can relate to hearing you say that. And I love the story you're sharing too, that size too, especially with gift giving season. I mean, and I'm one that I can really get wrapped up in. I just want to get everybody gifts. I think it's part of me too from when
Language.
I was a
It's your love language. Your gift gift.
yes,
It's your love
yes,
language.
like, and it's cards, and and my mom always has done that. She's been that person. So now it's just like a part of me. And so without questioning it, I just tend to like go and just gifts. And, of course I want to be meaningful and something thoughtful and something that'll matter to somebody. But sometimes it's like, it's way too much or just too many, like we just can't keep up with the amount of people. So I've had to be more mindful because we just can't, we just it's so hard. And yeah, I love that you're talking about. And so yeah, I can just totally resonate with what you're saying, like let's not go into debt with trying to please everybody else with the perfect gifts, the big gifts and things like that, and having to be mindful with that. And so actually, as we're talking about this and as you were sharing that story, which I think is a great one, is I'm looking at more gifts like from us to our kids that are like little cards and things that you can print out from different websites or whatever. And it's, token cards, like things that you can print out. And so it's a little book of coupons for the kids, things like that, where it doesn't have to be anything big, but that's the stuff that they'll remember all year because then they're cashing in their coupons, just ideas like that, where it's trying to, okay, I'm giving them something they can open. And then it's like, oh, cool. And then as the year goes on, it's something that's lasting.
Well, and I mean, think about that. Well, and first of all, for what you're saying, your love language is gift giving, right? And meaningful gifts. I think that's the more important part. There's people whose love language is gifting, that's just giving bomb ass gifts. And there's people that gift with intention. And I think that's a little bit different. And what you're saying is, there's just some things that we can't. Well, I think we need to change the narrative. Are there things that we can't, or things that we just shouldn't even be thinking about doing because somebody else or some story is telling us, oh, well, I should be getting my kid, I have 3 kids and I should be getting them equal amount of presents and I need to be spending this much
Mhm.
money, da, 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 da. And we need to change it from, well, I just can't do that, or do I really need to be doing that? Should I even be doing that? And I think that's,
Yes, I love that you say that. I love that you're saying change the narrative, right?
yeah,
Because it's like we don't need to, it
yeah,
doesn't have to be that. And so I think for all of us to take a step back and before the shopping and being like, okay, what am I doing this to show it? Or am I doing this because that's like what the kid really wants, or because it's something I really truly want to give them that can be meaningful either right now or through the year?
absolutely. And I think if most of us think back to our childhood, maybe there is a one off, but most of us don't. I don't remember. I cannot tell you what I received for Christmas as toys or really cool. I don't have those memories because typically my memories are someone made me feel a certain way, not because I was
Mhm.
gifted something
Yes.
that had
Yeah.
monetary value. I was made to feel a certain way. So, my kids, they got a bunch of aunts and uncles, and they're always like, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want? And, there are some people that are absolutely fans of the Amazon wish list. If that's you, boo, go for the gold. I usually tell them, why don't you invest in an experience with them? Take my kids to the movies, take them to the zoo, come over and do arts and crafts for an hour. Like, they're gonna remember that a whole lot more than the $20 motorized vehicle that you bought them. Like, it just is what it is. And I think we have to remember that. And this doesn't, I know we're talking specifically holiday, but you and I have agreed that this doesn't just apply to holiday season. And I think this is something we do need to apply as the year goes through. And there's even people in business, and we start to compare ourselves. Well, I went through 2023 and I'm not where I thought I was going to be at the beginning of the year, but I saw this person and they did this and they accomplished this and they're making this much money. At the end of the day, what we're seeing on social media is not real life. It's not. I don't care what we see. I try to be as vulnerable and open as I can on social media, but that doesn't mean you're seeing my 24/7. So you don't know my heart. And this is for everyone else, right? The people that you think accomplish the goals that you want, the people that you think have the money that you have, they have other things going on that we have no idea. There's no one that's gotten through this life without any heart. It's just not the way it is. And
yeah, it's so not real in that way. Exactly. Because you're right, where I feel the same way. Like, I don't put a lot of the hard stuff because I simply just don't want to share it. It's just things I don't want to talk about, or I feel like it's private to our family, so I just don't want to share it. Not meaning that I'm keeping it from social media, but it tends to be that's just the stuff I don't want to share or talk about outside of my family. So yes, social media tends to be, even for me, I know it tends to be more of the happiness, all of the, the good stuff. So like you, I try to be more vulnerable in things maybe I'll talk about, in sharing videos and ideas of things, because you want to show up real and authentic. But so much of social media is just like, what you see you see the best picture taken on the holiday. You don't see all the,
the crying and the whining and
the meltdowns. And
right.
I'm not a fan of posting those pictures anyway. So
a true movement, Chrissy, where all we send every Christmas is like the worst outtake from the Christmas photos. That needs to be the Christmas card, like, Merry Christmas, this is our happy mess, welcome to real life. And it's, you're not trying to downplay it, it's just that's real life, right? You got a bunch of people trying to stand in coordinated outfits, smiling all at the same time. I mean, that's why everybody's getting those new phones, right? Where you can switch the face, and one person has their eyes closed and you can take it from the other.
Which that creeps me out that you can do that.
We are trying to make our lives look perfect. And I call bullshit. Send the one with the eyes closed and the kid picking his nose and the mom
You
looking.
see so much more personality of the family. I agree. But I totally agree with you where it comes to, like, it's not just in this season. It is a lifestyle thing of trying to protect ourselves. And I, for one, like, I don't do a lot of scrolling on social media. I know it's a super addictive thing. It's one thing that I feel like I'm pretty good at stopping myself. And so I try not to take in content before I'm putting something out or sharing, or if I'm trying to come up with an idea or something, like just limiting the amount I'm intaking, because it really, really, really does affect my mindset. It affects my energy. You see something and you're like, oh man, like I just saw that what that person was doing, and it really just kind of set me off and down a spiral, because I'm like, man, they did it before me. And I'm just like, super frustrated, super bummed. Or I kept saying I was going to do that this year and I didn't. And I'm seeing like 3 people doing that thing and whatever it is, or they got the body they were looking for and I just haven't kept up with it the way I wanted, or whatever it is. Like, it's so easy to get sucked into it, and it totally affects our energy, which then affects the rest of our day and how we show up for our families or our friends or our businesses. It has such a real trickle effect, and it's just so in our faces right now. Like you said, it's not just our neighbors anymore.
It's not just our neighbors' decorations. I scroll on Pinterest or I scroll on Instagram, and there are these girls with these huge archways to their houses, and they're decorated with these 8-foot ornaments and these 10-foot nutcrackers. And I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm not doing it. It would look so cool. That looks freaking awesome. I'm not doing it. I refuse to do it, because you know what? That time that I could be making my fancy front foyer, I'd rather hang out and watch Home Alone with my kids. I'd rather make hot cocoa. I would rather, there's so many other things I would rather do that actually bring me more joy.
Yes, what we've been doing around here, I mean, we're Florida, so we can be outside a little bit more, but I don't want to do all the outside stuff like you said. So part of our literally like every day, the kids want to go see everybody else's things. And so I find joy in that. Like, let's go take your bike or take your
Thank
little
you
car.
for your effort. I will look at your decorations.
They're so excited to see all the other blow up things outside and the lights. Let's go see when it's starting to get dark. And then it's like we find fun, joy and fun in finding them around, or even if we're in the car, what everybody else has done. But I don't feel
Mhm.
any guilt around it because it's cool to find theirs.
Well, I mean, think of that. When they grow up, they're gonna be like, "Hey, let me take my kids for a walk or for a car drive because we're gonna do what mom did with us. We're gonna go look at everybody's decorations." And at the end of the day, I think the basic answer to your original question is how do you protect yourself? What are the tips? Think of everything that you're doing. A, is it bringing you joy? B, is it creating a lasting memory? C, how much energy is it taking? That's the big one. How much of your mental energy is it taking? And really decide what kind of life am I trying to create for my family, or am I spending way more time comparing what I have to what I think someone else has?
I think you summed it up with those three questions right there to ask yourself and to pull in what you had said before, the emotion behind it and what it makes you feel and those around you feel. Because like you're saying, that one core memory of a Christmas that wasn't even a big deal, but it was something that you remember how you felt about it. And those are the things that we need to stick to. So definitely great questions to keep in mind this holiday season, but outside of the holidays, where we are in life, and you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. So follow us on Instagram at Happy Healthy Skeptical and join in our conversation. We'd love to hear if you have tips, what you do in the holidays, specifically the holidays right now, but also in business, in life, to protect yourself.